child when it started. A smile on screen. A secret off it. Raven Symoné grew up in front of America.
Pause right here. On the surface, this is just another Hollywood coming-of-age story. But legally speaking, if her claims are true, we're not just talking about misconduct. We're looking at potential criminal conspiracy, intimidation, and obstruction of justice. That changes everything.
But behind the scenes, she was living a nightmare. And now, decades later, she's finally telling the truth. Not just about herself, but about him. The man the world once called America's dad. The man who built an empire on fake laughter and forced hugs. The man who, according to Raven, didn't just destroy innocence. He destroyed lives. And one of those lives was Malcolm-Jamal Warner's. He told me, "You'll disappear like Malcolm." And then, Malcolm was gone. Let that sink in. A drowning. No witnesses. No real investigation. Just a casket flown home under a headline that felt too clean. Too quiet. But now, Raven's voice is cracking through the silence. She's revealing hidden.
Think about that. If someone in power warns you, you'll disappear. In legal terms, that's not just a threat. That's a preemptive act of coercion, and in many jurisdictions, it could be used as evidence of intent in a homicide investigation. What would you do if you heard that?
Threats. Erased voicemails. Leaked files. And a pattern so dark it will make your heart stop. Because she's not just exposing abuse. She's exposing murder. What happened to Malcolm wasn't an accident. It was a message. A silencing. A warning to everyone else who dared to challenge the monster behind the mask. And Raven? She's done being silent. She's naming names. Holding receipts. And calling it what it really is. Murder covered in a smile. This is not just another scandal. This is betrayal, soaked in fear, buried in Hollywood shadows. And if what Raven says is true, then the most beloved TV legacy in history is built on blood. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear will break you. She wasn't supposed to speak. She was supposed to smile, wave, and fade into Hollywood's memory like every other child star. But Raven Symoné didn't fade. She waited. She watched. And when the time came, she spoke. And the world hasn't stopped shaking since. In a gut-wrenching, no-holds-barred interview that has sent Hollywood into a tailspin, Raven revealed what many feared, and what some already whispered behind closed doors. That Bill Cosby didn't just hurt women. He silenced the men who tried to stop him. And one of them was Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Let that settle in your chest for a second. America remembers Malcolm as the clean-cut, good-hearted son from The Cosby Show. The one who never got in trouble. The one who kept his head down, worked hard, stayed humble. The one we all grew up with. But behind the scenes, Malcolm was changing. As Raven tells it, he was growing bold. He started asking questions, pushing boundaries, demanding transparency on set. And worst of all, he was separating himself from Cosby's shadow. That's when the tension started. That's when Cosby's fake fatherly warmth turned cold. And that's when Raven overheard the sentence that's haunted her ever since. He's getting too loud. We might need to quiet him. She was only a teenager. She didn't know what it meant. But now, after everything, she knows exactly what it meant. Malcolm wasn't just a co-star. He was a threat. And in Hollywood, threats don't get ignored. They get erased. Raven says Cosby pulled her aside one day, calmly, casually, like a man ordering dinner. And he said, "If you ever go against me, you'll disappear. Just like Malcolm will." Those words froze her soul. She didn't speak. She didn't blink. She just nodded. Because what do you do when the most powerful man in your career just looked you in the eye and threatened your life? But it didn't stop there. Raven says Cosby had eyes everywhere, in her dressing room, in her trailer, in her hotel. She'd hear things repeated back to her that she'd only said in private. Notes would be slipped under her door. Blank notes. Just to remind her, we're watching. And then, Malcolm went on vacation. To Costa Rica. With his wife and daughter. A break. A reset. A chance to breathe. But he never came back. The headlines read, Malcolm-Jamal Warner dies tragically in drowning accident. But Raven knew the moment she saw it. It was a lie. She hadn't spoken to him in months. But she remembered their last conversation. Backstage, between takes. He leaned close and said, "One day, I'm going to tell everything. But first I have to make sure my family's safe." That moment stuck with her. And when he died, it shattered her. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She froze. Because she knew it wasn't just a death. It was a message. But the world moved on. Fast. Too fast. The funeral was rushed. The investigation closed. The files sealed. Autopsy results delayed. Questions dismissed. And then came the call. It was Cosby. Out of nowhere. He said just one thing before hanging up. "Now you understand what happens when people talk." Click. That's when Raven broke. That's when the fear turned into fire. She vanished from the public eye. Cut all ties. Left the industry. But she wasn't running. She was collecting. Because if she was going to speak.
Now this is where my jaw dropped. An IP address pinging from Los Angeles just hours after Malcolm's death? Forensics 101. Digital footprints like that are gold in court. If proven, that's not coincidence. That's timeline-shattering evidence.
She needed proof. And baby, she has it. Voicemails. Old hard drives. Encrypted messages. Backstage recordings. Names. Dates. Threats. She kept it all. And in her interview, she said one thing that shook the internet to its core. "Cosby didn't just hurt me. He killed Malcolm. And now everything's unraveling." A source from NBC's archival department confirmed that there was footage, a heated argument between Cosby and Malcolm on set, just months before his death. The clip was labeled corrupted, lost, unusable. But a 17-second leak hit Reddit last week. No audio, but you can see it. Malcolm standing firm. Cosby red-faced, teeth clenched, jabbing his finger. And then, Malcolm walking away. A former set tech says he heard Cosby growl under his breath. "You talk, and you're done." But Malcolm was going to talk. According to Raven, he kept a digital journal. Encrypted files, voice memos, secret contracts. He called it his life insurance. And guess what? It vanished the day after his death. Gone from his iCloud. Gone from his phone. Gone from his MacBook. But the data logs, they show his cloud account was accessed 6 hours after he died. From an IP address in Los Angeles. Not Costa Rica. Not his wife. Not his daughter. And guess what's 2 blocks from that IP ping? A property owned by a shell company tied to one of Cosby's old attorneys. Coincidence? Or cover-up? Because now, whispers are turning into screams. An anonymous whistleblower claims Malcolm was about to go public with documents that showed Cosby's production company was illegally funneling money, using the names and likenesses of former cast members, without their knowledge. And whose name was on those contracts? Raven Symoné. He told her. He showed her. And that's why she believes he died. Because he was done protecting people. He was going to expose them. And instead of justice, he got drowned. But Raven isn't afraid anymore. She's ready. She has lawyers. She has backups. She has witnesses. And soon, she says she'll release a recording Malcolm left just 5 days before his death. She won't say what's on it. Not yet. But she ended the interview with this. The truth is coming. And when it does, I hope they run. The truth is coming. That's what Raven said. But what if the truth is already here? And it's being buried alive? In the days after Raven's bombshell interview, Hollywood didn't just go silent. It panicked. Emails vanished. Social media accounts went dark. Former castmates started scrubbing their profiles clean. And then came the legal firestorm. 2 cease and desist letters. One from Cosby's legal team. Another from a legacy production house tied to the Cosby Show reruns. They claimed defamation. They claimed contract violations. They claimed she was stirring up false memories. But Raven? She's not backing down. In fact, she's doubling down. "I was a child," she said in a live stream, eyes swollen from crying. "They told me to smile, to shut up, to keep the brand clean. But now, I'm breaking the brand. I'm breaking him." And she's not alone anymore. Because someone else just came forward. Someone no one expected. Tempest Bledsoe, the actress who played Vanessa Huxtable. She went live on Instagram. 10 minutes of silence. Just her face. And then she whispered one line. Y'all don't know the half of it. Then she ended the stream. Was it confirmation? A cry for help? Or a warning that she's next? No one knows. But what came next shattered any doubt that something dark was hiding behind those studio walls. A leaked internal memo from NBC's legal department surfaced.
Let's unpack this. NBC's own memo prioritizing digital asset recovery within days of a death? That's corporate speak for locking down evidence before law enforcement even finishes asking questions. Lawyers call that preemptive narrative control. Regular folks call it a cover-up.
Dated just 3 days after Malcolm's death. Subject line: Preemptive narrative strategy. Warner vacation incident. It wasn't grief. It wasn't shock. It was damage control. They were already spinning the story before his body was even flown home. And that memo? It listed 3 priorities. Confirm accidental drowning with local authorities. Delay media inquiries. Ensure all Warner digital assets are accounted for. Digital assets. That means his phone, his laptop, his journal. And here's the kicker. A Costa Rican hotel employee has now confirmed that someone checked out Malcolm's room early using a master key card registered to a visiting media rep. The name on the visitor log? Redacted. But the signature matches that of a known NBC crisis manager. Now tell me again how this was just a tragedy. Because even in death, they were cleaning up. But it's what Raven found next that's turning this case into a digital battlefield. You see, she never deleted Malcolm's old messages. And one of them, dated 2 weeks before his death, simply said, "If I go quiet, it wasn't my choice. Tell ICE." That's it. 3 words that flipped this entire story upside down. Tell ICE. As in, Ice Cube. Why him? Because sources close to Cube say that Malcolm reached out, sharing encrypted files about shady finances and backdoor deals tied to Cosby's empire. He trusted Cube, because Cube had been through it before. Silenced, blacklisted, but never broken. And now, Cube is funding a private investigation. He's hired former FBI agents, cybersecurity analysts, and even flown in forensic divers to revisit the site in Costa Rica. Because he got the email too. The one from Malcolm. Subject line: If something happens to me, tell the truth anyway. The body of the email? Empty. Just an attachment labeled rjfinal.zip. That file is still corrupted. But the metadata shows it was created on a MacBook Pro registered to Malcolm's production company. The same laptop that's now missing. Coincidence? Or evidence erased? And let's not forget the voicemail. A distorted, chilling message leaked to an underground podcast. The speaker's voice is masked. But experts have analyzed the pauses, the tone, the cadence. They believe it's Cosby. And here's what it said. This isn't a threat. It's advice. Walk away. Don't let that girl get in your head. This isn't your story to tell. That girl, Raven. Was Malcolm preparing to stand with her? To support her claims? To help her expose the monster hiding behind fake laughs and fatherly advice? If so, now we know why he had to be silenced. Because 2 days before his death, he called Raven. She missed the call. But the voicemail he left? She hasn't released it. Not yet. But she played a snippet during her live documentary teaser. It was just one sentence. I'm scared. But I can't stay quiet anymore. Then, static. And then, nothing. The last words Malcolm ever said to her. Trapped in a phone. Trapped in time. And now the world is listening. Hashtags are trending. Hashtag justice for Malcolm. Hashtag Raven exposed Cosby. Hashtag truth behind the...
Notice what's happening. Raven isn't just making emotional claims. She's stacking physical evidence, digital logs, witness statements. That's exactly how you build a prosecutable case. If this ever hits open court, these details could become exhibits A through Z.
Curtain. YouTubers are dissecting old episodes frame by frame. Reddit sleuths are comparing signatures, timestamps, email headers. TikTok is flooded with reenactments, breakdowns, and deep dives. But the real firestorm? It's coming from the courts. Because Raven has confirmed that she's preparing to testify in a sealed civil case related to Malcolm's estate. Originally filed as a financial dispute, it's now shifting into wrongful death territory. Why? Because private investigators found 3 major anomalies in Malcolm's Costa Rican autopsy. Conflicting time of death entries, missing toxicology samples, a 48-minute surveillance gap in the hotel hallway where he was last seen. And guess who accessed his hotel room 3 times that night using a master key? Still unidentified. But security logs show the activity. And someone's trying to scrub them. They're scared. And they should be. Because Raven isn't just accusing Cosby of harassment. She's not just calling out Hollywood hypocrisy. She's building a murder case. Step by step, file by file, voice by voice. And she's not alone anymore. Malcolm's mother has broken her silence too. In an emotional interview, she said, "My son didn't drown. He didn't slip. He didn't fall. He was taken. And those who did it know exactly who they are." That one sentence? More powerful than any lawsuit. Because it wasn't just a statement. It was a war cry. And the movement is growing. Raven's new docuseries, They Tried to Silence Me, is already gaining traction. She's promising leaked recordings, internal memos, private conversations, and hidden footage. Stuff the networks don't want you to see. And at the center of it all, a man who died trying to speak up. And a woman who refused to let his story be buried. Malcolm didn't drown in water. He drowned in secrets. In silence. In a legacy built to look perfect on camera and toxic behind it. But Raven's not filming sitcoms anymore. She's filming truth. And it's ugly. It's heartbreaking. It's dangerous. But it's real. Stay tuned. He wasn't supposed to die. He was supposed to speak. He was supposed to finally tell the world the truth behind the lies. But instead, he ended up in a body bag. And now, the one woman who stayed silent for decades has finally spoken. Raven Symoné, the face of calm, the heart of the Cosby legacy, just broke down in front of cameras and exposed everything. Her voice shook. Her eyes were full of pain. And her words shattered everything we thought we knew. Malcolm didn't drown. He was silenced. And the man behind it was Bill Cosby. Let that sink in. The man once called America's dad, now accused of orchestrating the murder of the son who trusted him most. And Raven? She's naming names. She's done protecting the fake smiles and hidden skeletons. Because Malcolm died begging someone to listen. He left behind voicemails. He left behind warnings. And in one haunting message he said, "If something happens to me, don't let her speak at my funeral." She, the woman Raven believes helped cover it all up. The one who smiled at cameras and handed tissues to Malcolm's mother on national TV, while allegedly burying the truth with the network lawyers. Because this isn't just about Cosby. This goes higher. Much higher. Raven's investigation has now linked Cosby's shell companies to 2 former NBC executives, one of whom allegedly received consulting fees through an offshore account less than 1 week after Malcolm's death. And remember that missing laptop? A former New York storage contractor has come forward, under a false identity, speaking with voice distortion. And what he says is terrifying. "I was paid $30,000 cash, no paperwork, to relocate a metal briefcase and 2 devices from a storage unit tied to a company called Pudding LLC. I knew who it belonged to. Everyone in New York knew. That was Cosby's ghost company. Inside that briefcase? He swears he saw a laptop with the initials MJW etched into the bottom. Malcolm-Jamal Warner's laptop. Gone. Hidden. Buried. But the secrets inside? They didn't die. Because Raven had backups. She had voicemails Malcolm sent to her via email. She had clips from backstage. She had messages. And one of them was recorded just 48 hours before Malcolm drowned. She played it. In the closing minutes of her live stream. A voice. Worn down. Scared. Broken. "They're watching me. I can feel it. But I'm not backing down. I have the files. I've made copies. If you're hearing this, I'm gone. And if I'm gone, it wasn't an accident. Silence. Then static. That was the last time anyone heard from Malcolm. Until now. Because Raven handed those files over. To her legal team. To a federal investigator. And to an independent journalist who's now preparing a multi-part expose titled Murder in Prime Time. The world is watching. Hollywood is crumbling. And Cosby? Sources say his team is panicked. That multiple insiders have flipped. That a sealed grand jury inquiry is quietly underway, and it's not just about abuse. It's about murder, money laundering, obstruction, and corporate conspiracy. But here's where it gets worse. A former Cosby Show writer has now revealed that 2 other cast members had previously expressed fear, privately, that if Malcolm talked, they'd all go down. One of them has gone dark. The other was seen entering a federal building in Los Angeles last week, wearing sunglasses, flanked by 2 attorneys. They're not speaking publicly yet, but the whispers are now roars. Old footage from the set is being reanalyzed. Fan forums are identifying strange glances, off-script moments, cuts that never made sense. And when aligned with Raven's timeline, it tells a story. A story of fear, of manipulation.
And here's where you come in. If these allegations are true, they don't just rewrite TV history, they expose how power shield predators. Do you believe Raven's risking it all for attention? Or is she breaking the kind of story that could bring an empire down? Drop your take in the comments. The debate here matters.
Of control. And then came the biggest blow of all. Malcolm's mother. For years, she stayed silent, grieving quietly, refusing interviews, avoiding speculation. But today, she released a statement. Her voice, calm but cracking, echoed through the press room like thunder. My son did not die in an accident. He was silenced. And I will spend the rest of my life making sure the world knows who took him from me. She held up a photo. Malcolm, smiling, holding his daughter, wearing a red sweater. The same sweater Raven said he wore in a dream she had. The night he died, I saw him, Raven whispered during the live stream. In that sweater, in that house, the one from Brooklyn. He looked at me, and he said just one thing. Don't forget me. They'll try to erase me. But don't. So now, she's not forgetting. And neither are we. Because the facts are too loud. The evidence too damning. The silence too suspicious. Who accessed Malcolm's digital files hours after his death? Why was that journal erased and replaced with a blank folder named Shut It? Why is NBC panicking about Raven's legal team demanding decades-old documents? Because, baby, this isn't the end. This is just the beginning of a storm. A storm Raven Symoné just lit the fuse for. Now we ask you, do you believe Raven? Do you think Cosby's legacy was a mask this entire time? Do you believe Malcolm's death was just an accident? Or do you believe that it was a silent execution, wrapped in a fake smile, buried under studio lights, and broadcast as just another tragedy? Because this isn't just a video. This is a movement. And now that the mask is off, there's no turning back. So drop your thoughts in the comments. Let your voice be heard. Share this with someone who still believes The Cosby Show was just harmless entertainment. Let them see what was hiding behind the laughter. Because this time, the silence ends here. And we're not done digging. Take a breath. Let it sink in. Because if you've made it this far, you already know. This wasn't just a tragedy. It was a setup. A silencing. A message wrapped in death. Malcolm-Jamal Warner didn't just die. He was taken. Taken from his family. Taken from truth. Taken from a future he was ready to fight for. And now, Raven Symoné has done the one thing they never expected. She refused to stay quiet. So ask yourself, how many others were silenced before her? How many more will fall if we say nothing? This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is a call for justice. So if this story moved you, if your heart broke the way ours did hearing Malcolm's final words, if you believe in truth, in accountability, in exposing monsters hiding in plain sight, then don't scroll away. Comment below. Let your voice be part of this movement. Share this video. Let the silence break wide open. Hit like if this shattered what you thought you knew about Hollywood. Subscribe if you're ready for more truth they don't want you to hear. Because this is more than a video. It's a fight. A fight for Malcolm. A fight for every victim who is told to smile, shut up, and survive. And now, we're done surviving. We're exposing. They tried to bury the truth. But they didn't realize, we are the storm. Hashtag justice for Malcolm. Hashtag Raven expose Cosby. Hashtag truth behind the curtain. We're just getting started.